Today we are diving into a really weird modern mystery. It's one that connects things like crooked teeth, snoring, and a whole bunch of modern diseases to something we all do, about 20,000 times a day: breathing. And it turns out, pretty much all of us are doing it wrong.
So let's start with a puzzle, something that makes us, modern humans, a total oddity in the animal kingdom.
I mean, really think about that for a second. Of all the thousands of mammal species out there, chimpanzees, lions, even your pet dog, they almost all have perfectly straight teeth, naturally. But for us, braces are a multi-billion-dollar industry. So what happened? What on earth makes us so special?
Well, this is what you could call the Great Dental Divide. On one side, you have literally the rest of the animal kingdom, with these wide jaws, perfect teeth, and wide-open airways. And then there's our side, crowded, crooked teeth. And that's actually the first visual clue that something much deeper, much more important, is going on with how we breathe.
Yeah, the mystery just keeps getting weirder. It's not just the teeth. About half of us snore, and a quarter of us suffer from sleep apnea, which is a really serious condition where you actually stop breathing in your sleep. You know, besides a few pugs and bulldogs that we've specifically bred to look that way, this is a uniquely human problem. So, again, what happened to us?
The search for an answer really kicks off with the journey of a writer named James Nestor and his investigation. It didn't start in some high-tech lab. Nope, it started in the deep ocean where he was learning how to free dive. He quickly realized that if you want to hold your breath for minutes at a time underwater, you first have to become an absolute master of breathing on land. And this was Nestor's big aha moment. He tried this one intense breathing exercise, just sitting still, mind you, and within minutes, he was drenched in sweat, but also buzzing with energy. It was this huge physical reaction that made him start to question everything he'd been told.
Because, when he went and asked doctors about it, the answer he got was almost always the same. It doesn't really matter how you breathe. Through your mouth, through your nose, fast, slow. As long as oxygen is getting in, your body's smart, it'll just compensate, it'll figure it out.
But what Nestor was feeling in his own body told a completely different story. Just by practicing these breathing techniques he learned from freedivers, he felt way better. He had more energy, his headaches went away, he even lost some weight. I mean, the personal evidence was just too powerful to ignore. Something was definitely going on.
So his investigation took him to a pretty unlikely place, a museum basement at the University of Pennsylvania. And down there was one of the world's biggest collections of ancient human skulls. And it turns out, the answers to this whole mystery, they were literally written in our own bones.
And this timeline tells a pretty shocking story. For hundreds of thousands of years, our ancestors had these wide, forward-growing faces. But then, just in the last few hundred years, which is like the blink of an eye in evolutionary time, something radical happened. Our faces started to grow longer, narrower, and flatter.
If you look at an ancient skull, you can see this forward growth. The whole face just juts out. Now, this isn't just about looks. That structure meant they had a really wide palate and a huge nasal cavity. It was a facial structure basically built for effortless, perfect breathing.
Okay, now look at a modern skull. See the difference? Our faces are flat, they're recessed, they've grown backward and down. And this has literally shrunk our mouths and pinched our nasal passages. You could say the very plumbing for our breathing has been totally re-engineered and not for the better.
And here's the kicker. This isn't some rare thing. Researchers figured that a staggering 90%, 90, of us, the modern human population, have this kind of recessed facial structure. This is the new normal.
And that brings us right back to our first mystery, the crooked teeth. It's actually pretty simple. When your jaw and your mouth get smaller, your 32 teeth just run out of real estate. They have nowhere to go, so they crowd each other, they fight for space, and they come in all crooked. It's not a problem of bad genes, it's a problem of bad architecture.
But honestly, crooked teeth are just the canary in the coal mine. The real, critical problem with our shrinking faces is what happened to the passages behind them.
See, scientists have figured out this crucial domino effect that explains so many of our modern health problems, and the very first domino to fall is this fundamental change in our facial structure.
Which means, inevitably, our airways shrink right along with them. The very tube that delivers life-giving air to our bodies gets narrower, and it's much more likely to get obstructed.
And this is why it all matters so much. Dozens and dozens of studies have connected these smaller airways and the bad breathing habits they cause to this just shocking list of chronic diseases we all suffer from high blood pressure and depression to chronic sinusitis and, you guessed it, sleep apnea.
You know, there's a funny bit of irony here. In that classic old movie, Altered States, the main character devolves into this primitive caveman, right? And it's shown as this terrifying step backward. But if you actually look at that devolved human, he's got a wide face, perfect teeth, and he could breathe perfectly. No asthma, no sleep apnea, no sinusitis for that guy.
So, what's the takeaway? Are we just doomed by our modern skulls? Well, no, not at all, actually. The solution isn't about trying to change our evolution, it's about consciously changing our habits.
You take on average about 20,000 breaths every single day. Now, you can look at that as a life sentence of poor health, or you can see it as 20,000 chances to get it right. Every single breath is an opportunity to send a signal of health and balance back into your body.
And let's be realistic here. We can't just snap our fingers and change the bone structure of our faces. For most of us, that ship has sailed. The hardware is pretty much set.
But, and this is the really empowering part, we can absolutely change how we use that hardware. Tiny shifts, like just making sure you're breathing through your nose instead of your mouth, can make a huge difference. It filters, warms, and humidifies the air, which takes a ton of stress off your whole system. We can use our breath to fight back against the limitations of our own anatomy.
So, the real question isn't about whether evolution dealt us a bad hand. The real question is this: you have 20,000 chances every single day to influence your health, your mood, your energy. What are you going to do with your next breath?
Thank you for watching the video. If you like the content we make, press like and subscribe to our channel.